My name's Debbie Luritz, and I'm the head winemaker at Cumulus Wines, based in Orange, in the Central Ranges in New South Wales. And my journey actually started here in Brisbane. Grew up in Brisbane, and my parents have always drunk a lot of wine at home, and that's how I got interested in wine in the first place. And then headed to France for a year, and really got interested in food and wine, and thought I would come back and study at the University of Adelaide and really delve a bit more into the technical winemaking side. Studied down there, and then did vintages for sort of 4 years. Did a vintage in Australia and a vintage overseas in the other hemisphere, just to get lots of experience and tasting and travelling and fun.
Yes, and see how they do things
elsewhere. Yeah, in Europe and the States and all around Australia. So got some great experience there, and then came back and for the last 4.5 years I've been based in Orange.
And but you've had quite a really quite quick rise to senior winemaker.
Yeah, that would probably be true. When I started off there, Philip Shaw was the head winemaker. So I worked with him for the first 2 vintages, and then he really wanted to take a step back and concentrate on his own wines and his own vineyard. So I took a step up and took over the winemaking. And so there's myself and another young winemaker there, Andrew Belenki, and together we work on all the wines, so the whole range, rolling, climbing and Cumulus.
Yes.
And it's a fairly sizable operation that we've got in Orange. We've got a 500 hectare vineyard that rolls across 2 different geographical areas.
Yeah.
And it's it's a big company. We manage all the vineyard, everything that we bring into the wineries from our own estate vineyard, and we make it all in the Cumulus winery.
And what varieties are proving to be the best from your area, from Orange?
Yeah, well, I think definitely Chardonnay. Over the years, the Orange Chardonnay has won a few great awards at various wine shows, both in Australia and overseas. And it's got really interesting minerality and really interesting flavour and texture, and I think a real terroir sort of component coming through. And I think from our vineyard, Shiraz is also really special. It's this lovely, spicy, cool climate Shiraz. So it's a medium-bodied wine that's elegant and goes well with food, and moderate alcohol levels and just lovely, spicy fruits and juicy, black fruits and really interesting wines.
Oh, okay. Because Orange is sort of carving out its niche, isn't it, in the industry? You're seeing a few more wines.
Yeah. I mean, Orange is still a really emerging wine region. Yeah, I mean, vineyards have really been planted there for grape growing for winemaking for the last 20-25 years.
Okay.
Our vineyard's 16 years old, so a couple of years behind the first sort of pioneers of the area. Yeah. It's still very emerging. There's still a lot of people exploring which soils are best for which varieties and which slopes and which areas, but it's an interesting area because it's based on elevation. It goes anywhere from 600 metres up to 1,200. Very different wine styles depending on where you planted.
Yes.
In that elevation.
Okay.
So I mean, some of the vineyards up at 1,200 metres are just all whites. Some Riesling, Gewürztraminer and Sauv Blanc. And then down where our vineyard is, a bit closer to 600 metres, we're more. We've got Cabernet, Shiraz, Merlot, so we can ripen up all the Cabernet.
Do you have a favourite food and wine combination?
Ooh. I think it changes all the time depending on the season and what you're eating, but
something memorable you've had in the last 12 months. Can you think of it?
I'll just call it. I always just think, I mean, it's winter at the moment, but like a lovely beef stew and a nice spicy Shiraz, that always goes down well.
Oh,
lately in Orange, it's been freezing.
I know. Got quite quirky little labels on some of your wines. So what inspired those?
So the rolling label represents our vineyard. So it's this rolling, undulating hills like this.
Yeah.
When you stand at one of the blocks, you really look down and it goes rolling like this into the distance. There's a few little, when you look at the label in more detail, the girl's on the bike and she's actually got a basket of oranges in her basket.
Okay.
That sort of represents where we are in the township of Orange. And then climbing is in direct sort of relation to the elevation of the area. So we're climbing up, we're going in elevation, altitude, and the blocks that go into this wine are some of our higher blocks. That fall into the Orange region, so that's in relation to that. And then the Cumulus is our premium brand, and that's the name of our company, Cumulus. And we have these cumulus clouds that pass around every afternoon that's sort of on the horizon in the vineyard. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you, Debbie.